All right, welcome back to the show, ladies and gentlemen. We are now joined by Sintish, who went viral a few days ago, a couple of days ago. We showed you guys the clip. She reacted to what happened in Peckham during the protests after that shop owner and that lady who had a fight, basically. And so, welcome to the show. Yeah, you did this video where you reacted to the event and you said, obviously, it's never good to get physical and aggressive at the man, but the reaction from the community in Peckham, the black community, was a little bit too much, right?
So when I first saw the video, I was completely confused. His hands on a woman. It wasn't until I actually saw the caption, and this was the actual original video, where the woman said that she deserved it. So I thought this is an interesting story, but one thing my parents have always taught me is to never speak on the situation unless you actually know the full story. So it wasn't until I saw the full CCTV evidence, it was very evident and clear that the woman wasn't the victim. She definitely didn't deserve to get strangled at all. Strangling is never okay, but she definitely instigated it and she pushed the man to his absolute limit. But watching her behavior and his behavior wasn't disappointing. What was disappointing to me was the fact that we was protesting. I feel like Black Lives Matter has turned into like this shield that black people use to almost like shy away from the certain things that we do. Like, how can you go into a store and think that it's okay to just take things because you couldn't get a refund? Millions of people are not eligible for a refund and they don't respond like that. And now people are protesting. Like, what is this protest for? If the protest is for to stop the man being violent, then that's completely fine. But from what I've seen, the protest is to get Asians out of business and to close the man's shop down, a man who's been giving products to black women for the last, I don't know, 20, 15 years. And he made one mistake, that one time in his life that he made a decision. We're now protesting to shut down his store. So to me, it was absolutely ridiculous in the sense that, like, we Black Lives Matter has completely corrupted people's minds into thinking that even when a black person is in the wrong, like, you can see the CCTV evidence that she is not the victim, we should still go out and protest and protect her rights to steal.
Yeah, that's a good point. And there were a lot of signs and stickers on the shop that the protesters put up, and some of them were saying, "Get out, all East Asians." I'm like, I don't think they know the difference in East Asian and South Asian. but then there was one of the protest leaders with a megaphone and everything. She was talking about how angry she was, obviously, and then she was saying this is because of white supremacy. When did white people come into this?
It's not because of white supremacy, it's not because of Asians, it's not because of blacks, it's because of two individuals who lost their temper.
Yeah.
And that's why I felt so compelled to speak, because anytime a person who is black gets into an altercation with someone who's non-black, it always turns into a race issue.
Yeah.
Like, why are we generalizing? And it's so crazy because I had a conversation with a Caribbean lady during an interview, and she said that she embarrassed the Caribbean community.
Wow.
And in my head, I'm thinking, but she doesn't represent the community. Like, we need to let go of this idea that one person represents the whole community. So, yeah, that's my thing. It's not a race issue. It's not
No.
an ethnic issue. It's not a community issue. It's literally just a behavioral issue, and leave it as that.
It seems like it's identity politics on steroids for decades and, well, centuries, but for decades, like into 20th century, we fought hard as a country, as the West, and to become more civilized and to tackle actual deep racism, and somehow we did that by actually exposing toxic racism and fight back against and promote liberation. But it seems like more recently, whether it's the BLM movement or other political groups, they seem to be not only bringing it back, the fight, but they're not even doing it in a healthy way. One, they make everything into race, even if it's not about race. And two, they seem to be, it's the same thing with some people would say the extreme side of the feminist group. They do the same with the women's freedoms and rights. And right now, they seem to be bringing it up, which causes division, but it actually makes them a victim, and it makes them feel helpless. And I grew up in a council estate in Lewisham, and there were a lot of black communities and many others as well. And then I was shocked, even back then, because I'm getting old now, that people were saying there was this atmosphere that was created that if you're on a council estate, especially if you're black or brown, then this is the end of the world, and you're never going to get anywhere, and everybody hates you. So how is that liberation? How is that what Martin Luther King wanted?
Literally, and that's why I felt so compelled to ask, people, what is it that we're looking for? Do we want equal rights or do we want privilege rights?
Mm.
Because equality looks like being able to look at that situation and say, okay, the man was in the wrong for strangling her, but the woman was equally in the wrong for provoking him and not following the rules. Like when you're in someone's store, you're now in their territory, so you have to follow their terms and conditions. That's what equality looks like. But privilege looks like, actually, it doesn't matter because she's black and we share the same skin tone, I'm not allowed to say that she's in the wrong. So, and I feel like a lot of that stems from Black Lives Matter. I feel like we was really progressing when it came to equality, but Black Lives Matter and the use of them using the sad stories of those using their lives as a way to market,
Yeah.
this idea that our race is the superior race is not okay. Like, what people need to understand is that no one wins when there's a privileged race. Do
Mm.
you understand? And the reason why I felt compelled to speak is because I see where this is going. Like, I studied British colonialism and I also studied American history. And when I look at the Black Lives Matter movement, I can see this is just modern day Marxism. This is just modern day divide and conquer. And whilst we're sitting here arguing amongst each other, these people are coming into communities and completely destroying it, and we're completely blinded by it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just we're just going backwards. We think we're going forward, but we're genuinely going backwards.
Well, it's the same thing, politically speaking. Those who are claiming to be anti-fascist, and they call themselves Antifa, but their tactics are quite fascisty. It just it's an oxymoron. But I mean, society is kind of right now. Everything's heated, and everything is becoming tribal. With every battle, every topic, like right now, the last 24 hours, everything's about Russell Brand and all that stuff. And already we have two sides who are not going to change their minds. Obviously, we've got people in the middle, people who are waiting to see what's going to happen. But with everything, everything has to be like a football match: team red, team blue, team this, team that, Puritans. What's going on?
I'm exhausted of it. Like, even when you go on TikTok, there's just this constant
Mm.
men versus women,
Mm.
feminism versus red pill, white people versus black people. Like, and now we have black people versus Asians. I think this is the reason why this was so personal to me, is because I actually have a lot of Asian friends, a lot of
Mm.
Pakistan friends, and all of my colleagues are Pakistan. And they are honestly one of the most nicest people you will ever meet. Like, every time I go into work, I feel so safe. I
Mm.
feel so protected because in Pakistan culture, they are so gentle with the women. And even the women as well, they are super nice, they are super gentle. So for people to come and now generalize and say that all Asians need to get out of the community because they're racist and they're that, off of just this one incident, it's disgusting,
Yeah,
honestly.
although I mean, to be fair, most of it, the problem and the problem we now have with mass migration, and when we talk about it as well, the border problem, people say, "Oh, do you just hate foreigners? Are you a foreigner yourself?" I'm like, no, no, we talk about mass migration, and especially illegal migration. The problem with that is that the numbers would go out of control. So there's the different types of cultures coming in, not having enough time to integrate. That's one issue. Secondly, you were talking about the Pakistani people that you know, and they're kind of the good people. And then some people would say, well, I also met, or any background, I also met some bad person from that background. It's mostly because not only we have in different cultures, but in each culture we have different, and I don't like to use the word class, but there are different cultural classes. So depending on where they are and which part of like that country they came from, there are people who have different experiences as well, and that is the whole issue. And then everything's stereotyped. So we have a couple of like Pakistani men who would do the grooming gang stuff, and then obviously completely taints the whole image of everybody else. And the same
Yeah.
with like some white person in California will do a mass shooting, and all white people are evil. And I mean, there's a big problem. So obviously, we have to protect the culture. We have to make sure we have one common identity, and it's called British culture. It's not really that kind of
Yeah.
rocket science. And we're not doing it to be anti other countries. We're just trying to be patriotic and actually have some sort of unity, community spirit, right?
Exactly, exactly. That's exactly what we're trying to do. I mean, do you know what's so funny is that the other day I was on Twitter and I saw a story that a black man threw acid at a Pakistani man's face during an altercation. And my first thought was, where was the protest?
Yes.
Where was the Pakistan Lives Matter? Not only that, but you did
Yeah.
not see Pakistan Pakistani people turning around and saying get all blacks out of the country.
Yeah.
So I feel like this thing of putting races against each other is very heavy in the black community, extremely more heavy than any other community. And as a black person, I don't mind being the first person to put a stop to this, because it's out of control now.
And in fact, actually, you are so well spoken. I think we should give you your own show on this channel. Talk about social
I would
issues.
love that.
Guys,
Um,
let me know in the comment section if you want a proper social commentary on the various issues there.
I would
But
love
thank
that.
you so much for coming on the show. Any final words? Optimism?
Um,
Anything?
Any final words? I would just say, guys, let's finally just end the topic of race. I think the best way to stop this is to stop making race such a prominent topic in every conversation. Because not everything is a race issue, and even if you are religious or you're Muslim or you're Christian, I'm pretty sure in the Quran it doesn't mention anything about the biggest problem in the world is race. No, it's our own individual behavior and characteristics that leads to our consequences. So yeah, I hope people can just think about that.
Thank you very much. And thanks, guys, for all the support. Subscribe to the channel. I'm Maya Tousi, and we are the media.